So good morning, happy Monday. Welcome to our monthly Goleta Wrap meeting. This is a meeting where we meet with the Goleta community to discuss concerns related to homelessness, as well as to share updates about what is being done throughout the community to address concerns around homelessness. Want to welcome, we have Mayor Perotti with us. And then my name is Landon Rank. I should introduce myself. I'm the Associate Director with SB ACT. And we're doing this in collaboration with the city of Goleta. So I have my colleague Chuck Flax, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. Chuck Flax, City of Goleta Homelessness Services Coordinator.
And then we'll be joined as well by members of different service providing agencies, law enforcement, and others. And then I see we also have some media presence today. Looks like we have John Palmentary with us. Welcome. Glad you're here. So why don't we go ahead and dive right in. So just to start, we want to do some general announcements. So as many of you know, the Buena Tierra Permanent Supportive Housing Project will be opening hopefully by the end of this year at the former Super 8 Motel. And so I want to kick it over to Evan from the Housing Authority of the County of Santa Barbara to share more.
Thank you. Good morning. Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's 12 already. We, as some of the city officials and some of them know, there were some soil sample issues and we had to do some soil sample testing. Padre came back and we're going to have to do some remediation on the soil. We're going to have to trench about 10 feet on the north side of the parking lot and going 100 feet west through the parking lot. So with all that being done, we're going to have to export some of the soil for on-site remediation. And then potentially we might have to put up a slurry wall underground. This is going to push us into January, so it's better than what we thought. So we said end of the year, this is going to push us into the end of January. So for the last time this was my first time on the meeting. Sorry, I'm Evan Bauman. I'm the South County Manager for the County Housing Authority. We're going to be, there was a lot of questions about that wait list. We do have wait list started, some pre-applications. We have at least 30 applicants that have gone through the process that are ready to go out of the unit, the 60 units that we have. I'll go in a little bit more detail. I didn't give much detail last time since it was my first time on it. Out of these units, we're going to have 15 out of the 60 units set aside for TAY, which is transitional aged youth, 18 to 24. We are also going to have 8 cottage reserved units for cottage recuperative care graduates. Then we're going to have 36 that are technically classified for chronically homeless. Now, out of these 36, there'll be 5 that are VASH, be set aside for VASH vouchers. Out of those 36, 33 will be at 30% area medium income for income qualifications, and 3 will be at 60. That's just a little bit more detail than most people. Most of that's going to be counteracted by the vouchers, but this is home key regulations. And then out of those 36, we will have 1 unassigned unit for homeless. Doesn't necessarily mean have to fall into chronically homeless. So that's the update that I have from the County Housing Authority side. If there's any more questions, I'll take them. Otherwise, I'll go over with you, Landon, and hand it over. And then obviously, as we have more of these meetings, I'll be able to update everybody on the progress.
Thank you, Evan.
I have a question, Landon. Yeah. Hi, Evan. It's Chuck Flax with the City of Goleta. A question I get from quite a few residents is the planning on the social services for the residents. I know that you all released a request for proposals. Has that decision been made?
Yes, we've got those proposals in. The panel that was reviewing those proposals have submitted their responses, and that's on our admin side, so that should be turned over fairly quickly on as far as that request for proposals. That's already been done and it's been closed out. And that's as much information as I can give at the moment.
Thank you, Evan. Any other questions for Evan? All right, we appreciate you being here with us today. So another general announcement regarding the city of Goleta. So SB Act is working alongside the city of Goleta to begin operating a new homeless services program called a Neighborhood Navigation Center. And what this will be is a weekly site where we have sort of a pop-up shop of different homeless services. So we'll have case managers there, homeless outreach services, as well as just like a meal, healthcare support, mental health, those kinds of things. And the goal is that we'll create a consistent space where people can access those services, as well as be able to build trust and rapport with the people who are going to be helping them move towards housing. So the end goal is really to see people exiting from homelessness. So this will be happening on Mondays at Christ Lutheran Church, starting probably late this month. We will be hosting a neighborhood forum on November 13th, Monday, November 13th, from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. at Christ Lutheran Church. And that's just a chance for anyone who lives in that neighborhood who may have questions that they can come and get their questions answered and learn more about the program that will be there on Mondays moving forward. So any questions about the new Neighborhood Navigation Center? Great. So with that, we'll go to our service providers just to hear some updates from the field. So why don't we start with our team from Good Samaritan?
Actually, before we do
go
that,
ahead,
and
Chuck.
I didn't prep you on this, but I know the Mayor Purdy's on the call. Mayor Purdy for quite a few years now has been really hoping that we can open a winter shelter in Goleta. I've done a decent job outreaching to possible churches who would be interested potentially in doing that. No church has yet to step up to want to participate. So part of the reason for my bringing it here is if people know, within your own church community, within other churches or other organizations that you are familiar with or working with, we really would like to talk to people about the possibility of having a winter shelter in Goleta. Good Samaritan has some funding available to support a new site. There may be more money needed, but the issue really is more about a willingness to host it. So just putting out the call on this at this forum. If people know of anyone, please contact me. I'd be happy to start that process.
Thank you, Chuck. All right, so let's go on to our service providers to do some check-ins from the field. So let's start with our team from Good Samaritan.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Todd with Good Samaritan Shelter. Last week, the ARPA team was able to get 2 individuals into shelter. We also made 2 shelter referrals. I'm also happy to report that we were able to get 3 more clients document ready last week, which is a huge win. The ARPA team made several fulcrum updates throughout the Goleta area. Main focus was on Elwood, the Fairview Airport area, and the slough in between San Jose Creek and St. Pedro Creek. There's still 1 active encampment in Elwood. There are 2 new encampments in the Fairview Creek, as well as the abandoned encampment by the Matthews Bridge, which has been updated into a hangout spot. There is some activity there. And Fulcrum has been updated with detailed photos. So thank you.
Thank you, Todd. All right, let's go to our team from CityNet.
Hi, this is Ellen. I'm with CityNet Goleta. I'm here with my partner, Carl. For those that don't know me, we've been doing a lot of outreach around Old Town. We just got back from the Super 8 area over there by the creek, as well as Maria Ignacio. Just been working with our existing caseload. We did get someone to shelter on Friday, which was really exciting, and Fernando helped out a ton with that. So I'm super thankful to him. That was amazing to see that person get into shelter. But yeah, other than that, just working with the existing caseload, kind of testing the waters of how people are feeling about shelter as we approach closer to winter. There are no path beds right now for us, but we do always have like rescue mission as an option. So we've just been kind of seeing how people feel about the possibility of that. And yeah, I think that's pretty much our only update for right now. Nothing major.
Just a question about you mentioned Path, Ellen. I don't know if Kimberly, who's on the call, knows the answer to this. Is PATH planning on doing their winter beds again this season? Just so the city of Goleta can prepare to possibly transport people there.
I do believe they are. The general fund contract that the county has with PATH includes the opening of the winter shelter just on those nights where there's those specific triggers.
For people who don't know, the way PATH expands their capacity is they actually operate like a warming center. They put mats down just like a warming center does, and they invite people to be temporary one-night guests. And I think, I don't know to what extent we've been able to get residents from Goleta all the way down to PATH for such a purpose, but there are some, and it's good to know that we have that resource.
And then also for those of you who are new in the call, what you heard Ellen referencing is that we are really at capacity with the amount of shelter beds we have here in South County. And so this is an ongoing need that really makes a big difference in terms of us actually being able to address and help people move out of encampments and off the streets. So now let's hear check-in from our safe parking program team. Cora's still here.
Hi, everybody. So just some quick updates. We're still continuing to do outreach in the hot spots, the Phelps and Pacific Oaks area, Lake Los Caneros, La Pateria, those areas. We are diligently uploading information to get people dock ready and enrolling people as we go. So that's about it for now. And Deborah and I, typically when we do outreach out in Goleta, it's either early in the morning or late in the afternoon, but we're going to be doing an afternoon, like between 1 and 4 outreach this week. So we might be able to hit people that we normally don't get to. So more on that next week, I guess.
And Cora, do you know approximately how many spaces that are available currently in Goleta for safe parking?
I can look at that and let you know. We have a handful.
Yeah, I know that. I just was curious if it had been, because as I'm seeing notes in the meeting, that a lot of the shelters have, partly because the nights are getting colder, I think, and because of the future opportunity at Buena Tierra, we're seeing more people cooperating and going into shelters. So we don't have as many beds as we did. And so like to keep a handle on the availability of parking as well.
Yeah. Okay. Definitely. We do, like I said, we do have a handful of spaces still available. We have several in Isla Vista, which is sometimes a little bit harder to fill those, but we have, we have a couple people out there now. We do have a few spaces out there still available.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see George from the city of Goleta on the call, but is there any updates from either the city of Goleta or Deputy Roush?
I don't necessarily have any updates. I know we've been dealing with some individuals at Lake Los Caneros, and we did utilize Goleta's new municipal code for the first time last week. But I don't know if Jaime or Chuck want to talk any further on those.
Yeah, my understanding was that we did exercise what's called the high fire risk ordinance that was passed by the council this summer, I believe, and became effective, I think, mid-August or mid to late August. It's the first time we've had to use it. And from my understanding from George last week is that it actually did work as intended. So we're grateful to have that tool available to us. And what that is for some of the folks who are on this call is council took action to identify and determine that certain areas of the city were essentially no camping, no matter what type of areas. And these are the high risk fire areas of the city, which are largely comprised of the Elwood Mesa and Lake Los Carneros. Still to be Boise compliant with the rest of the city, we had to identify certain areas and certain findings as to why these were unique. So part of it is obviously these are large open spaces with significant dry vegetation, and so the risk for fire is significantly higher than what you might see on a sidewalk, for example, or in some of our parks. So um, it's not something we necessarily wanted to do to be punitive, but it's something that we needed to have in order to get compliance. And so thankfully, this first iteration at Lake Los Caneros went well. We do plan to continue to use it at those two large areas just to reduce the fire risk, especially as we still have hot days here in October and November. There'll be rain coming at some point, but for now, it's just kind of the dry season as a lot of vegetation grew with the water that we got earlier in the year. So thanks to George and his team, the sheriff's office as well. We'll continue to do this. We don't necessarily want to do it, but we have to for public safety purposes. And so thanks for everyone who participated in that. The only other thing I was going to share real briefly is council will be considering next Tuesday a couple of contracts related to increasing shelter capacity. So it's actually very timely, as it turns out, and they'll be considering that on Tuesday evening. I think we have it under consent. And so we're hoping it goes through and that allows us to have more availability going forward, and then provides more options and secures space that we need. So that'll be coming on Tuesday.
The other thing before we go to Mayor Prodi, the other thing I wanted to, in this vein that I wanted to remind people about is that if a person is camping on private property, that there's no requirement that they accept services or that, even that we even provide services. However, I know that in almost every case, we have been doing a lot of outreach, even on private property, to people to try to get them to accept services. So there are a handful of cases that Deputy Rush and I are working on private property with property owners to clear those areas as well. The biggest private property owner in Goleta that has homeless encampments is the railroad. And really the answer to the railroad problem is the encampment strategy that the county and the city are going forward with. We're not exercising punitive measures along the railroad. We don't have that authority, and we're not, it doesn't work, frankly. So we're really trying to provide housing, provide options for those folks.
Let's check Mayor Prodi.
Yeah, Jaime answered my question basically about I was curious to where the person was asked to leave under the fire ordinance. I was curious to where that was, but I'm curious, and maybe this has been addressed, and I haven't been on the call for a little while, but the folks experiencing homelessness that have been camped off of Encina Rail in that area on a bus stop, are they? I know in the past I've received several emails and calls. I'm just wondering how that's going. Thank you.
I can respond to that. That was a happy story, and I want to thank Ellen Antonioli and her team with CityNet. So that's an example. What was happening there is an example of the problem. We're learning things as we do things going forward. Caltrans and UPRR this summer were very aggressive at displacing people. And they cleared a lot of brush, great in terms of fire danger, but they cleared a lot of encampments without a lot of warning or support for people. And so people who've been chronically homeless, who have been living in those encampments in some cases for years, have ended up on the streets of Goleta. And so the three people that were kind of frequenting a very public spot on Cena Road were very welcoming of outreach staff. They went out and talked to them a number of times, and two of them accepted shelter. One of them did not, but he moved on, so that site is no longer an issue. And we did get quite a few thank yous from residents who noticed that we were effective there. So once again, thank you to our outreach teams for that work.
Yeah, so thank you to the outreach teams, and then also thank you to Public Works staff who went and cleared the remaining. It was never really an encampment.
Thank you, Jaime.
But yeah, it was also more so almost like a hangout. And this is kind of what we've seen over time, is that an aggregation doesn't necessarily mean an encampment. It could be people coming through, passing through, hanging out. To the naked eye, obviously it looks like an encampment, but some folks just leave stuff there and then move on and come back. But I went by Walgreens, I think last Friday. There was nothing there and hadn't been anything there for a couple of days. So I think at this point that place will remain clear for the time being. Knock on wood.
All right, at this time, I want to open up the meeting to hear from community members. We'd love to hear any questions you have, concerns, or areas of interest. And if we already answered all your questions, then that's great. Yes, Randy.
I don't think I followed very clearly what Evan was saying about who the people were that would be going into Buena Tierra. I just remember the last thing he said, there'd be one homeless and then something like 33 who were local area medium income. And I just want to get it clear. Maybe, I'm just slow on the uptake here.
Yeah, no, that's okay. A lot of what I said is familiar to caseworkers that are in this every day.
Right.
There's 60 units. Originally, there were 66 units there. 5 of those units are getting cleared out for service provider office space, and 1 is going to be for an on-site employee from housing authority. Now that leaves 60 left. 15 of those apartments are going to be for TAY, which is transitional aged youth. That's
Great.
brackets ages 18 through 24. Then through the cottage recuperative care program, there's going to be 8 units that are going to be designated for cottage recuperative care, leaving basically 36 units. Most of those are classified as chronically homeless. There's going to be 5 VASH that are included, VASH vouchers for veterans in that 36. 33 of those units are going to be at 36 AMI. That's area medium income. That's just income levels calculated. And a lot of this is going to be under home key regulations, and I'm not going to get into that in this particular meeting. 3 of those are then 60% AMI. That covers the 36. 5 are going to be designated for VASH, 33 at a certain area medium income percentage, and 3 at another certain area medium income percentage.
What does that mean, the area median income? Like, what would the numbers be? I mean, is that really for homeless, or is that for people who are
No, it's the income qualify for, like in HUD programs. You can 30% area medium income. That's a calculation that they use, and there's a certain bracket that they fall under. You can be from 0 income, roughly up to $31,000 a year. Now, a lot of this is covered. This is just income qualifying. So anything in between that 0. So there's a lot of detail into that, and I can talk for hours on this. I'm not going to get into that in this meeting, but I just wanted to kind of break out with the home key regulations, what we are getting into.
Okay.
And this is specifically related to this being a home key project.
So Evan, the one question that sort of is germane, I think, to what Randy's concerns are is, will all the units be assigned to homeless people through the coordinated entry system?
Yes. The cottage recuperative care is going to be a separate program. There's some conversation on how that's going to work, but everything else is going through the coordinated entry system. And they're going to be pre-qualified, pre-screened as chronically homeless.
Okay.
That's great.
And I probably shouldn't have brought up the AMI. It's just that's something I deal with every day. So I was just discussing that for those that are familiar with how that works. So I probably should have given that detail, and I apologize.
And just to be clear, Randy, 30% AMI is a cap. So you could make 0, right?
Yeah.
And all the way up to 30%. So maybe that helps kind of
Correct. That's what I said. There's just income level caps for chronically homeless, 0 to 31. There might be somebody that's receiving SSI, that does have income but's chronically homeless. As long as they're below that cap, they will qualify. We could have chronically homeless with 0 income, and they could also qualify. So it's just little different qualifying brackets at lease up where these come in, because they're in the chronically homeless demographic. There are multiple levels of income depending on Social Security, SSI, or 0.
But I do want to commend the Housing Authority for their commitment to homelessness here. The Home Key program, I don't know if it's required, so maybe I'm overly thanking them, but I do know that the idea here was to work directly with the homeless serving system to house people, which is, in many jurisdictions around the country and in California, that's not easy to do because of financing, because of the structure and how difficult it is to get these projects done. So we're really very thankful that the Housing Authority has been able to do this.
Thank you. And a compliment back to all our supporting agencies, Good Samaritan, CityNet, the county, Be Well, everybody that's involved in the coordinated entry system, because that is a key function on the screening and making sure that people get reached and get assessed and then get services. So that goes back out to everybody.
Thanks, Evan. This helps just because most of the people I'll be chatting with and talking to friends, a meal or whatever, just knowing that it covers it's all chronically homeless and some real basics, and then also some of the highlights that helps a lot. I don't expect people to remember all those things, but I'd like to be able to, so I can cover the basis. Thank you.
And thanks to Chuck and what he does and his whole team at City for getting all this stuff together as well.
Thank you. Judy.
Yes, I'm sorry I came late because I was having difficulty getting, wasn't allowed in for a while. So I know that you had said that it was said that the people would be moving in October, but it's the end of October. Did you say a time when they will be allowed to come?
So what Evan just said was, in his report, is that they've had some significant mitigation issues with soils and that they needed to address. So it's looking now like the end of January.
End of January.
End of January.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Yeah.
Other questions from the community? I'm not seeing any others at the moment. I'll ask Chuck if you can put your email address in the chat window so that if other questions arise after we close today's meeting, that you can reach out to Chuck or myself, and I'll put my email in the window as well. The next meeting of this group, oh, go ahead, Mayor Peretti.
Well, I'm just curious. I mean, we're trying this noon approach, figuring it's lunchtime and maybe more people can from the community can join us. Are you seeing, I mean, I see some names, but are you seeing a lot of community members on the call? And if this time isn't working, are we going to rethink it? I was just hoping that, the city gets a lot of calls or emails, and this is just like the perfect opportunity to speak with all of us, and take advantage of that. And in a non-threatening environment, we just want to hear from folks and not judgmental. And so I'm curious to why we're not getting that participation. If we could do something better, that's all.
So all I know is that we're doing everything we know how to do. We've been
I'm
sending,
sure you are.
We've been sending out, all the announcements through the very extremely outreach. What am I trying to say? Extremely visible Goleta process of emails, texts, the posts, the Monarch news. So we have been announcing it. I mean, I have to say, to some extent, that there has been a slowdown in the reports from the community in terms of like requests for service and calls. So, I mean, I think to some extent that's an indication of how good a job our outreach teams are doing. I think a lot of people, everybody's got their fingers crossed that the Buena Terre project is going to make this really big difference. I also think, and I don't know if this is true. I'm suggesting this, and I'm curious if people would agree with me. Unlike the city of Santa Barbara, Goleta has not had the kind of business district impact of homelessness that the city of Santa Barbara has had. And so we don't hear regularly that much from our local businesses. But I mean, and when they do have a concern, they're quick to contact Deputy Roush and myself, and we've been responding. So it may not, so in other words, they may not have broad concerns if they know who to come to. Those are my theories. I'd love to see, we were doing it at 9, weren't getting very many people. We did a public forum at the library. We didn't get very many people. We're doing this. And I think it's great that we have this opportunity, and I agree with you. It's disappointing we don't have more people.
And this is the second time we're meeting at this hour. So I think,
Sure.
We'll give it a try for a little longer. We've also talked, Chuck and I are talking about different ways to go out to the community rather than asking them to come to us. So this is why we were tabling at the Lemon Festival, and just looking for more opportunities like that where we can interact with people who might not show up to a meeting otherwise.
And then Mayor Perotti, just proactively, I think when we've had discussions with members of the community, so when we had the coffee and community event with Councilmember Kasdan, we've encouraged people and told them about these meetings. So, we also get emails, and so if we know something's coming up, we'll let them know, hey, we're having a community meeting on this. This may be a great opportunity to share. So folks are aware of it. We've definitely not tried to hide these things from folks because we actually want more participation. But I think sometimes people feel more comfortable sending the email and then maybe not necessarily attending some of these. But we do try to, as part of a response back to them, is not only address their question, but also offer up the fact that there will be these kind of events or meetings. And so we let them know and encourage them to attend.
And I hope you don't hear it as I'm upset about it. I'm not. I think we're just doing everything that we can. And I'm just, that was my question is, I'm planning on having more meetings at the farmers market and advertise that they could come and talk to us about anything, actually. So thank you. Thank you for all that you guys do.
No,
Really.
thank you. Mary, it looks like you're still muted. Oh, there you go.
Okay, I don't know why my camera isn't working today. I got a new computer and I'm probably doing something wrong. But anyway, I have two questions. One, a neighbor brought to my attention that on Pacific Oaks, on the backside of Albertsons and all of that, there now are a long line of overnighters there. I see Deputy Roush. Yes. So I don't know if any of them can be placed into safe housing or are we safe parking? I mean, or have we connected with any of those people? You have, okay, because she started talking with one of them, the couple in the Jeep, and they were like really afraid of her, as if they were afraid she was going to turn them in or something. So anyway, I'm glad to know that you're aware of it and something's happening anyway. My other question is, it's a little bit of a story. So a couple of months ago, we had a man who was homeless living in a car with a dog, and we were working with him, trying to get the car fixed and towed, and just pretty miraculously, he was able to get a car from Santa Barbara Honda for an very inexpensive price, and was put on a payment plan. And unfortunately, he has not even made one payment. And this has left them with a bad taste in their mouths. And of course, I feel bad because I took advantage of my friendship with the manager there. And so I just wondered if anyone has any ideas on how we can get any funding for this. It's about $2,600. Or if, I mean, we'd hate to have them start proceedings to take the car back away, but it's very disappointing that he's not taking any responsibility.
Thank you, Mary. Yeah, this is actually something we've been talking about a lot throughout the region, is just flexible funds being an issue, but especially there's a lot of contingencies even for funds that are flexible. Like SB Act has a fund, but it's specific to the city of Santa Barbara. So if we hear of anything, we'll definitely send it your way.
Okay, thank you.
So I have a couple of responses to that, Mary. There are a lot of organizations that will work with a gentleman like the person that you're talking about. And so the first place I would refer him would be to the safe parking program. But at the same time, no organization is going to want to support somebody who gets an advantage like that and then just doesn't take any responsibility for it. So it's as part of our role as providers is to help enable people to become self-sufficient. And so it's without going into a lot of detail on this particular case, that's always a trade-off that we consider when we fund these different programs. We want people to meet us halfway or as much as they can. No judgment on him. I understand that he may have all kinds of circumstances, specifically that person. But I can hear in your voice that you're disappointed in his choices.
Yeah, and he's now stopped, taking our phone calls, and he's got what he wants, and now he's not holding up his end of the bargain. And so anyway, it's okay. I mean, I just thought I would put that out there in case anybody had any ideas, and I'll put my email and phone number in the chat in case anybody has any ideas.
And Mary raised a hot spot that Cora raised as well, just for the community to know. It's on the top of my agenda. The Pacific Oaks and Phelps have become a unofficial RV park, and and it's a growing problem. I have a meeting today with Jaime to discuss strategically how the city is going to start to approach it. There are enforcement things that can be done. There are, additional incentives that we are going to look into possibly providing to get people to move somewhere else or into some kind of a safe parking program. So to be continued on this one, that's going to be a longer term issue, but just also to let people know that as rents continue to go up throughout our community, we're going to see more people living in their cars, and an RV is an attractive alternative to living in a small car. So if someone can make that work, cities are going to have to wrestle with how to manage that as an issue. And I'm seeing it all over the state, really. So it's something we're going to continue to work on.
I would also add to that in part of us investigating our municipal code and parking, we did confirm that if individuals do have stable parking placards, essentially,
Jaime, you're cutting in and out a little bit. It's kind of hard to hear you.
Is this better?
Yes.
Okay. So in looking into the parking regulations of the city, one thing that we found was that folks that have disabled parking placards, our regulations don't really apply to them. They're exempted from them. The only cases where it's not is when it's posted no parking period, like red curb. So even if we have a temporary, time limited, day limited, evening limit, whatever it is, those are exempted by the California Vehicle Code. And so part of what we're trying to do is work with sheriff's officers and others to see if confirming that those are legitimate and active parking permits, but deference does go to the parking permit. So it does exempt them from those regulations. So it's not always just, oh, we see a bunch of RVs. But if those RVs have those parking permit placards, the city really is in no position to enforce at that point. So it's not an excuse, but it's just an explanation of why maybe you may see more vehicles than normal or certain vehicles in certain places. It's not just the city choosing not to enforce. In many cases, it's the city unable to enforce.
Also, people seem to know very well the rules, so they abide by the rules. They move their cars in sufficient time. And
Any other questions? All right, seeing none. So our next open Goleta wrap meeting will be on Monday, November 27th. This will be the Monday right after Thanksgiving. We'll meet at noon again. Please help us spread the word. And we'll go from there. Thank you everyone for being here today.
thank you
Good to
very
be
much.
with you all.
Thank you. Have a great day,
Thank
guys.
you, everyone. Thank you.
I had trouble getting in
Okay.
with the email, and I finally went to your email. Is it going to be the one that was given?